A billionaire's daughter discovered a hidden secret from a janitor that changed her life forever. Charlotte Bennett stood in the mirror, the glint from her diamond earrings catching the light just right. She exhaled, but the breath didn't clear the tightness in her chest. The lavish events of Chicago's high society felt glamorous, yet they left her feeling strangely alone. Behind her designer dresses and exclusive soirees was a hollowness she couldn't shake off. That is, until she found herself at the local community center, determined to find purpose. The summer sun poured through the large windows, lighting up the laughter and energy of children bouncing around the room. As Charlotte sorted through piles of donated clothes alongside Sam, a kind-faced janitor in his 60s, she was drawn to his quiet wisdom. His hands were calloused, telling tales unseen, but his eyes sparkled with a world of stories. "Do you know," Sam began one afternoon, his voice soft but steady, "the real strength you find in a community? It's not in the shiny things, but in the spirit of those who keep going when times get tough." Charlotte listened, wanting to lean into each word. His stories wrapped around her, painting pictures of hardworking single mothers and determined kids dreaming beyond circumstances. As they folded clothes, Sam dropped a bombshell, a secret that rocked her foundations. "Your great-grandfather and our families met long ago, right after the war. It wasn't pretty, Charlotte. You wouldn't know growing up in your bubble." He took a breath, eyes locked on hers. "Your family had every advantage while mine. Well, we struggled." Those words clenched at her heart like a vice. Charlotte felt the hot flush of shame creeping up her neck. The weight of her privilege crashed down like a wave, dragging behind it years of silent complicity. For the first time, her family's wealth felt like a burden, not a blessing. Her heart echoed with Sam's stories, clashing against the shallow conversations at the galas. Could she defend her family's legacy when it stood on the backs of people like him? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension between Charlotte's two worlds grew thicker, coiling tighter with each passing day. Conversations at family dinners now felt excruciating. When her parents spoke of upholding their elite status, she wanted to shout, "Who cares about legacy when so many are struggling?" Each bite became a reminder of her indecision. Then came the night it all bubbled over. Surrounded by her family, laughter erupted and glasses clinked. Yet Charlotte felt an overwhelming desire to burst. Should she speak up for Sam, for the community he represented? The silence hovered heavy, and just as she felt the resolve to rebel against her life of privilege, silence washed over the room like an interrupted symphony. Staring into her plate, torn between two worlds, Charlotte knew this was only the beginning. The path ahead whispered of transformation. Was she brave enough to take that first step toward real change? The quiet at the dinner table was palpable, wrapping around Charlotte like a suffocating cloak. She glanced up, studying her parents. The way her mother delicately lifted her glass to sip and the pride swelling in her father's chest as he recounted the success of their latest investment, it made her skin crawl. These moments felt rehearsed, as if they were merely playing a part in some elaborate charade. "What do you think about it, Charlotte?" Her father's voice cut through the tension like a knife. Caught off guard, her heart raced. The moment felt monumental, urging her to speak. For so long she'd been a passive observer. Now the weight of Sam's revelations pressed on her shoulders like a heavy backpack. "Actually, I think we talk a lot about privilege but not enough about responsibility," she blurted out, surprise coursing through her as the words tumbled from her lips. Her parents' eyes widened. The sudden shift in tone drew attention from across the table. Conversations halted, and a mournful glance passed between her mother and father. They were unprepared. No one ever challenged their ideals, especially not their daughter. "Responsible for what, dear?" her mother asked, shrugging off the gravity of Charlotte's statement with a wave of her hand. "You have everything you need. What more could you want?" Charlotte's pulse quickened. "But don't you see? It's not just about us. It's about people like Sam who work hard and still struggle. We should be helping them, not living in our bubble." Her boldness frightened her. Yet a flicker of exhilaration ignited within. The air thickened with tension, her words hanging like heavy clouds. I mean, you know what Sam said, right? We couldn't even begin to understand their struggles, she added, her voice trembling but firm. Her father leaned back, crossing his arms. Beneath his stern facade, Charlotte could see the conflict brewing. This is unrealistic, Charlotte. You have a legacy to uphold. We've worked hard for what we have, he replied, although she could hear the hint of uncertainty in his voice. The chime of a video call interrupted the silence. Her younger brother managed to break the tension with an innocent, "You're both arguing again?" But Charlotte's mind was locked onto the confrontation, her heart hammering against the walls of her chest. As the evening wore on, she felt the shadows of doubt creep back in, mingling with sparks of courage. Was she making a fool of herself? Or was she finally saying what needed to be said? Later that night, alone in her bedroom, she replayed the conversation. Disappointment and excitement danced around inside her. What if that was just the beginning? What if she could push this conversation further? The next day at the community center, Charlotte found herself drawn to Sam again. Seeing him, the weight of her earlier revelation anchored in her heart. "Can I tell you something?" she asked, pouring it all out: her family, the dinner. The truth wrapped in fear and determination. He listened, nodding thoughtfully. "Change isn't easy, but it's often the hardest conversations that spark the most significant changes. You have to decide what kind of legacy you want to build, Charlotte." The words settled deep, igniting a sense of purpose. What if they could create something together? Suddenly, Charlotte had an idea, something that could unite her two worlds. But would she have the courage to act on it and face the consequences? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden rays through the windows, painting visions of hope and actions yet to come. This was just a taste of what lay ahead, the call to and from both her past and the future. Would she follow her heart, or let fear hold her back? The next steps were hers to take, and the unknown shimmered just out of reach. Charlotte stood at the entrance of the community center, the vibrant sounds of laughter and chatter washing over her like a warm wave. She felt a prickling anticipation in her chest, mingled with the same nervousness she had felt at dinner. How had she gone from quiet dinners to this bold pursuit of change? Her gaze landed on Sam, sitting cross-legged on the floor with a group of kids. They were animatedly discussing a project they were doing together, smiles spilling over their faces. For a moment, she wanted nothing more than to join them and be swept up in their carefree energy. "Hey, Charlotte." Sam waved her over. His bright smile made her heart leap. "We were just talking about the upcoming art show. Want to help us brainstorm ideas?" "Yeah, of course," she replied, finding her voice amidst the excitement around her. As she settled in beside him, she felt the butterflies settle. "I was thinking, what if we showcase themes of community and support?" Sam's eyes sparkled with interest. "That's a fantastic idea. We could create something powerful that connects everyone. Really shows how we all work together, right?" Charlotte nodded eagerly. Together, they bounced ideas back and forth, her initial anxiety starting to fade. The children chimed in with suggestions, their innocence and creativity igniting Charlotte's heart. Each laugh and insight stitched a larger sense of purpose into her day. As the planning continued, she felt an idea blossoming, not just for the art show, but for bridging the gap between her life and Sam's world. What if we invited families from the neighborhood to participate too? Share their stories in art? She paused, pressing the palms of her hands together. "Could unite our worlds, sort of like what we're doing now." Sam was clearly impressed. "That could show your parents what community really looks like, Charlotte. It's not just art. It's voices that matter, that count." Her heart raced. Sam was right. This was it, the spark of change she had been looking for. But doubt crept in, wrapping around her thoughts like vines. What if they don't care? What if my parents dismiss it like they always do? He leaned closer, sincerity filling his voice. "You have to believe in what you're doing. If this project means something to you, you can make them see. You're stronger than you think." As Sam spoke, warmth spread through her, igniting a newfound conviction. Perhaps it wasn't just about the art show. It was about pushing back against the constraints of her upbringing, about claiming her voice in a world filled with expectations. Determined, she pulled out her phone and typed quickly, outlining her thoughts. She'd make a presentation. Tonight, she would take this to her parents, set a meeting at dinner, and show them the fusion of her two worlds through this project. The room buzzed with excitement as Charlotte overcame her self-doubt. She could feel the weight lift, replaced by a fierce sense of purpose. "Let us do this," she exclaimed, fueling the children's enthusiasm. As the day slipped into evening and laughter faded to soft chatter, Charlotte left the community center, her heart racing. She could envision her parents' reactions, their initial skepticism melting into interest. Would they see her courage? Would they truly understand the importance of what they were creating together? As she walked home, the sun dipped low, casting an orange glow across the horizon, lighting the path ahead. Her mind was alive with ideas, but one question nagged at the back of her mind: would she be brave enough to face the truth once she unveiled the project to her family? Tomorrow promised change, a reckoning of sorts. And as she turned the corner toward home, Charlotte knew that this was just the beginning. But would the future she envisioned be accepted? Or would it lead to even deeper divides? Charlotte paced her room, her heart thrumming with nervous anticipation. The night felt heavy, thick with uncertainty. She glanced at her reflection in the mirror, the dim light casting shadows beneath her eyes. Would the courage she felt earlier endure? Or would the fear of rejection snuff it out like a candle's flame? She pulled her phone from her pocket and reread the ideas she'd typed. Community art show, family stories, bridging worlds, it all buzzed in her mind. But the weight of her parents' expectations hung over her like a storm cloud. They had always placed so much value on status and success. Would they understand her desire to connect with the community? Or would they see her aspirations as naive? Charlotte dropped onto her bed, staring at the ceiling. What if they tear it apart before it even gets a chance? The thought stung. Her fingers traced the edges of her notebook, where she'd sketched out the plan. She then remembered Sam's encouraging words: believe in what you're doing. What if he was right? Over the last few weeks, her world had gradually shifted. She felt lighter when she was with the kids. Their ambition and creativity inspired her, pushing her to be more than just a passive observer. This project could be her voice, a fusion of her old life with this new calling. When morning broke, the sunlight streamed into her room, illuminating her notes like a beacon. She inhaled deeply, letting the hopeful energy pulse through her. Having gathered herself, she went downstairs for breakfast, determined and focused. "Good morning, sweetheart," her mother called from the kitchen. The scent of pancakes wafted through the air, momentarily comforting Charlotte's frayed nerves. Her father sat at the table, engrossed in the newspaper, already discussing business deals that held no interest for her. "Can we talk about something important tonight?" she blurted, sitting down in the middle of their morning routine. Her mother paused, syrup-laden fork hovering in midair. "What's on your mind, darling?" "I want to present a project I've been working on. It's about art and community." Her father's fingers tapped the table as he raised an eyebrow. "Is this about that community center again? You know how busy we are." Charlotte's heart sank, but she pressed on. "It's more than that. I want families to share their stories through art, to show how we can come together as a community. It's really important to me." Her mother exchanged a look with her father, one Charlotte couldn't quite decipher. Was it concern or disdain? "We'll discuss it at dinner, Charlotte," her father finally said, returning to his paper. The rest of the morning felt like a blur. Charlotte could hardly focus at school, her mind drifting back to that dinner. Would they be engaged? Would they see the passion behind her words? That evening, as the clock ticked closer to dinner, she found herself rehearsing in front of the mirror, a nervous dance of gestures and tones. As dinner started, anxiety wrapped around her again. She set her phone with all her notes in front of her. Even the comforting hum of family chatter felt like an uphill battle. "Okay, everyone," Charlotte began, her voice shaking slightly as she laid out the proposal before them. "I really believe we can create something special and meaningful." Her mother's gaze softened, but her father's skepticism lingered. Each word felt like a leap into the unknown. Was this the moment she'd hoped for? Or the moment she feared? The silence following her presentation grew heavy, like a storm brewing. Just when she thought her voice would falter, she caught Sam's smile flickering in her mind, urging her to stand firm. Would they embrace this fire she had sparked, or would they extinguish it just like that? And then the moment unfurled. Charlotte held her breath as her family absorbed her words. She glanced at her mother, who still seemed to be weighing her response, as if trying to find the balance between understanding and disbelief. Her father, a rock of pragmatism, studied her with sharp eyes, the newspaper forgotten on the table. Art and community? He finally said, his tone flat. Charlotte, this is all well and good, but how does this fit into your career plans? You know how important your future is, right? Her heart felt heavy. Why couldn't they just see how passionate she was? Dad, this is about more than just a career. It's about connection. I want to bring people together. Show them that their stories matter. Stories matter, he echoed, and she could hear the skepticism in his voice. But money matters more. And being an artist, isn't going to pay the bills? Her mother cleared her throat, shifting the mood slightly. Maybe we should try to understand what Charlotte is saying? Every great endeavor starts with listening. Charlotte felt a spark of hope. Perhaps her mom would be her ally. Yet her father's frown deepened. Is this about impressing your friends at Ivy League? Because that's a waste of time. Dad, she exclaimed, her voice rising. This isn't about anyone else but me. I've never felt so alive as I have these past weeks working with the kids. You don't know what it's like. They see the world differently. They want to create, to tell their stories just like I do. For a moment, silence shrouded them once more. Charlotte's pulse quickened, thoughts swirling. Would they ever understand? Or would her dreams be left behind, extinguished under the weight of their expectations? Finally, her mother ventured cautiously, what about a compromise, honey? What if you explore this project, but also keep your future career options open? You could study business in college as a backup plan while pursuing art. Charlotte shook her head. Feeling desperation claw at her heart. But that's just it. I don't want to play it safe anymore. I'm tired of playing it safe. I want to risk failing if it means pursuing something real. Failing? Her father's eyebrows shot up. You need to be smart about this. You can't just chase after every dream without looking at the reality. The sting of his dismissal hit hard. Charlotte blinked back tears, forcing back the flood of emotions threatening to pour out. She glanced at her notes, the kindling for her dreams resting there. Listen, can't you see what this means to me? I just want a chance. A long tense pause filled the room, the silence almost deafening. Her mother looked between Charlotte and her father, concern fueling her expression. Maybe we can all spend time together at the community center this weekend, she suggested gently, hoping to bridge the gap. Let us see what Charlotte's talking about. Then we can better understand. Her father sighed, running a hand over his face, contemplating the offer. Fine. But only if she agrees to talk about her college choices afterward. Beneath the layers of disappointment, a flicker of hope ignited in Charlotte. A weekend at the center. Maybe that would show them the heartbeat of her dream. The moment her father finally nodded in agreement, relief washed over her like a gentle tide. All right, she said, a smile creeping onto her face. Let us go together. Charlotte felt a weight lift. Perhaps, just perhaps, this was the beginning of understanding. But in the recesses of her heart, a deeper question lingered. Would a single weekend be enough to change their minds? Or would it be just another battle in a long war of expectations? Each step forward held the promise of change, and yet what would she discover about herself in the process? The sun peeked through the window early Saturday morning, bathing the kitchen in a warm glow. Charlotte felt butterflies in her stomach as she poured herself a cup of coffee. Today was the day. Today, her family would visit the community center. She hoped it would bring them closer to understanding her passion. Are you excited, sweetie? Her mother asked, walking in with a hopeful smile. Yeah, I really think they'll see why this matters to me, Charlotte replied, though doubt nagged at her. Would her dad truly change his mind? Her father shuffled in, flipping through a stack of papers, visibly distracted. Did you pack any flyers? To showcase what you're working on? Yeah, I have them ready, she said while her heart sank a little. It felt like he saw today as another task on his to-do list, not an opportunity to connect. After breakfast, they all piled into the old family van, the hum of the engine almost a comforting blanket. Charlotte's mom chatted about the weather, trying to keep the mood light. Her father remained focused on the road, occasionally grunting in response. As they parked outside the center, Charlotte took a deep breath. The colorful mural on the building's wall seemed to pulse with life. A small group of kids swarmed the entrance, laughter mingling with the scent of fresh paint. This was her world. Ready? Charlotte asked her family, her nerves buzzing. Her mother nodded enthusiastically, while her father adjusted his tie as if preparing for a meeting. Inside, the air was filled with the sound of pounding hammers, laughter, and music. Charlotte led her family through the corridors adorned with artwork created by local kids. Each painting told a story, a glimpse into each child's life. "Look at this one," Charlotte said, pointing to a vibrant mural depicting a tree with children playing beneath it. "It's about community support and growth." Her father's brows furrowed. "It's colorful." "Colorful?" Charlotte echoed, feeling a mix of frustration and disbelief. "It's so much more than that. It represents hope. Can't you see?" Fighting back her disappointment, she turned to a group of children. "Hey everyone. This is my family." The kids greeted them with waves and enthusiastic smiles, their eyes shining. "We're working on a project about dreams," one of them exclaimed. Charlotte's father crossed his arms, remaining stoic. But her mother knelt to chat with the kids, their laughter filling the room, her warmth altering the atmosphere. As the group made their way to the art room, Charlotte felt a glimmer of optimism. She explained her plans, emphasizing how each child brought their experiences to life through art. "This isn't just about creating. It's about fostering connection and understanding." But just as she felt her words resonating, her father interrupted, fixing her with a sharp look. "Charlotte, these are nice stories. But nice doesn't pay the bills. You need practicality." Tension crackled in the air like static electricity. The color seemed to lean towards gray for Charlotte as her heart sank again. At that moment, a janitor, an older man with a gentle smile, approached them with a cart of supplies. "Excuse me, I couldn't help but over here. This place has saved a lot of kids. Their stories don't just belong here. They can inspire whole communities." Charlotte froze, surprised. His words felt like a warm embrace, a validation of her dreams. Her father's gaze softened, curiosity creeping in. Sometimes, the janitor continued, what may seem impractical can change lives. "I never had much, but I always believed in sharing what I had." He nodded toward the kids who were deeply engrossed in their artwork. The moment hung in the air, and Charlotte's heart raced. Could this ordinary man, with his simple truth, be the key to unlocking her father's understanding? But as she looked at her father, Charlotte wondered, would he truly listen? Would this encounter change everything? Charlotte stood frozen, absorbing the janitor's words, every syllable wrapping around her like a comforting shawl. She looked from him to her father, who was shifting in place, a flicker of something new in his eyes. The world felt suspended, her hopes hanging delicately in the balance. Can we see the kids' work?" she managed to stutter, her voice barely above a whisper. The janitor, sensing the charge in the air, nodded with a warm smile. "Absolutely. Follow me," he said, directing them toward a series of small tables covered in drawings and canvas splashes of color. As they moved further into the room, Charlotte's heart beat faster, her excitement punctuated by little leaps of hope. She stopped at a table where a girl around 8 years old was painting a bright blue sky on her canvas. "What's your painting about?" Charlotte asked, kneeling beside her, completely forgetting about the tension that loomed behind her. "I'm going to put a rainbow in it," the girl replied, her eyes wide with anticipation. "Rainbows make me feel happy, like when my mom smiles." Charlotte smiled back, her heart softening. Just beyond her, she caught her mother's eyes, sparkling with pride as she chatted animatedly with other kids, drawing them out with her warmth. This was it, the connection Charlotte had longed for. This happiness, this passion, radiated from the children like sunbeams, and she could feel it even from a distance. Her father, however, stood aloof, his arms still crossed, watching the scene unfold. "Dad," she called gently, breaking his focus, "look at how involved they are. It's not just art. It's a lifeline for them." He glanced around, still hesitant. "But what happens when they grow up? Will this really help them?" Charlotte felt the knot in her throat tighten. "It helps them now. It teaches them to express themselves, to hope for more, to know they have a voice, even when the world tries to silence them." Just then the janitor chimed in, "It's not about where they'll be in 10 years, my friend. It's about who they are becoming today." Every stroke on that canvas is a belief in themselves. The older man's gaze was steady and kind. His words seemed to plant a seed of doubt in her father's resolve. Charlotte felt a surge of hope blossom within her. "Wouldn't you want to be a part of that?" she asked her dad, her voice steadying with each word. "To see kids realize their potential? To know you helped them uncover their dreams?" The tension shifted as her father shifted again, his expression softening, if only slightly. There was a flicker of contemplation behind his eyes. Then from behind them a boy's voice piped up. "Mister, you should help us. If everyone does something small, it makes our big dream possible." This simple declaration seemed to echo off the walls, filling the space with sheer innocence and determination. Charlotte's heart raced again, the momentum gathering around her father like a powerful wave. He faced the boy, a look of genuine surprise crossing his features. "You really believe that?" "Yeah, it's true. Everyone can help," the boy said, grinning wide. Charlotte watched, breath held, as her father took a step closer to the group of children. The budding warmth in the air began to melt the icy barrier he had built around himself. Charlotte's thoughts raced. Would her father open up? Could he finally see the value in this? As the boy began to explain his painting, Charlotte felt a shift, a change brewing. She leaned forward a little closer, her heart fluttering with anticipation. But just then a loud crash echoed through the hall, startling everyone. A stack of canvases had toppled over, and Charlotte's stomach dropped. What would happen now? Would this derail everything? Everything was hanging by a thread. And in that moment Charlotte knew something was about to change, whether it was for good or for worse. All she could do was hold her breath, and hope they wouldn't miss their moment. The crash reverberated through the room, snapping Charlotte back to reality. She blinked, heart racing, eyes darting to the kids who were now frozen in shock. The vibrant energy they had created just moments before was punctured. Her breath caught in her throat, watching her father's expression shift dramatically as he moved towards the fallen canvases. "Everyone be careful," he called out, his voice surprisingly firm, cutting through the confused chatter. Charlotte's heart stuttered, a flicker of hope igniting as she saw him step forward, his arms uncrossing as if they were shedding an old skin. "Here, let me help." He knelt on one knee, picking up the canvases and handing them to the girl who had been painting the blue sky. A fleeting uncertainty flitted across her features, but that quickly gave way to a grateful smile. Charlotte felt a rush of warmth. Could this really be happening? Was he finally starting to see? "Thanks," the girl said, her eyes brightening, and for a brief moment, the atmosphere felt light again. Her father glanced around at the other children, and Charlotte bit her lip, sensing a shift, a crack in his stoic facade. Feeling emboldened, she joined him on the floor, gathering brushes and palettes. "Look at their smiles, Dad," she urged softly. "They need this space to express what they feel. Isn't it amazing to be part of something that brings out joy?" He paused, looking from Charlotte to the children. "Do you really think this matters?" "Yes," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm bubbling over. "More than you know. It matters to them, it matters to us. Art gives them voices. It gives them hope." The janitor returned, a knowing smile crossing his face as he glanced at her father. "Sometimes it takes a little chaos to open our eyes to what really matters," he said. "These kids learn and grow, not just in skill but in resilience. You might see someday that your support could change everything." Her father stayed quiet, considering the janitor's words. Charlotte felt a bead of sweat trickle down her back. This was the moment. Would he embrace this chance? Would he step into the warmth of connection that beckoned him? Charlotte watched as, inch by inch, her dad's defenses appeared to lower, though his eyes still held a thread of uncertainty. She nudged a colorful canvas toward him. "Want to help with this one?" He hesitated, a silent battle playing out within him, but finally his fingers brushed the surface, and he picked up a brush. The moment felt monumental, like history shifting in their small corner of the universe. Just then there was a tap on the window. All heads turned. Outside, a group of parents had gathered to watch the unfolding scene, their faces reflecting curiosity and surprise. Across the group, a woman with wind-blown hair stepped forward, her expression full of intrigue. Charlotte felt her stomach knot again. Who was she? What's going on in there? The woman shouted, her voice loud enough to reach the children and adults alike. Are they painting or just making a mess? Charlotte's heart sank. Would this new interruption threaten what her father was just beginning to discover? Could their moment slip away just like that? Her father looked up, the brush hovering mid-air, undeterred yet caught between two worlds: the old, familiar world that demanded control and the new, vibrant one filled with possibility. What would he choose? Would he step up or step back? As the woman continued to peer in, anticipation hung thick in the air. Charlotte felt the mounting fear that this moment could dissolve just as quickly as it had begun. Would her father find his voice, or would he retreat into silence once again? Unbeknownst to her, the kids were already setting to work again, their laughter and chatter rising up around them. But Charlotte lingered on the edge, knowing the next choice held the weight of futures yet unwritten. Charlotte held her breath as her father glanced from the window back to the children. For a heartbeat, the room felt suspended in time. The laughter of the kids contrasted sharply with the tension swirling from the unexpected intruder. The woman flung her hands up, seemingly incredulous, eager to express her skepticism but also intrigued. Art? In a place like this? She questioned, her voice dripping with disdain. Charlotte's heart pounded louder. She took a step closer to her father, desperate to keep his focus locked on the vibrant chaos of creativity unfolding before him. The children were dancing around their easels, paintbrushes flying and colors swirling, completely undeterred by the noise outside. "Dad," she whispered, urgency spilling from her words. "This is good. You can feel it. Just look at them." His gaze wavered, flickering between the kids' joyful endeavor and the woman's skeptical stare. He was torn. Charlotte could see the weight of his past tightening his jaw, the fear of letting go fighting against a curiosity that hadn't awakened in so long. The janitor stepped forward, his presence filling the space with an unexpected warmth. "Ma'am, they're creating something beautiful. Why not give it a chance?" He held his hand out, gesturing towards the vibrancy that had transformed their small room. "Really? You think letting them throw paint around is art?" The woman scoffed, although her tone had softened slightly, curiosity breaking through. "Art is what you feel," the janitor replied calmly. "It's about expression, exploration, and sometimes a little mess. These kids are learning more than just painting. They're finding their voices. They're learning to connect." Charlotte watched her father's expression shift, even if just a fraction. A flicker of understanding flashed in his eyes as he absorbed the janitor's words. Would he really embrace this? She held her breath, allowing hope to flow through her veins. Suddenly, one of the children, a small boy with curly hair, got a mischievous glint in his eye. He dipped his brush into a pot of red paint and flung it toward a nearby blank canvas. Charlotte gasped, half in horror, half in delight, as the paint splattered and created an abstract shape that looked almost intentful. The boy erupted into giggles, the sound infectious, and before Charlotte knew it, the other kids scrambled to grab their brushes, joining in the playful chaos. "That's it," Charlotte thought. "This is what it's about." Her father's lips curved upward, the hint of a smile threatening his stoic demeanor. Would he finally surrender to this vibrant chaos? Could he see beyond the mess to the happiness blooming around him? As the laughter crescendoed, the woman's skepticism crumbled, her stern visage shifting into something resembling intrigue. She stepped closer to the window, watching each quick stroke of paint, each light-hearted joke shared among the children. "Maybe they're onto something," she muttered, barely audible. At that moment, Charlotte's father took a deep breath, releasing his paintbrush to the colorful surface. This wasn't about control anymore, it was about connection, expression, and perhaps a little magic. But before Charlotte could breathe a sigh of relief, another voice cut through the air, sharp and commanding. "What is going on here?" It was another parent, looming large and rigid outside the window. Charlotte's heart sank again. Would this voice snuff out the growing light? The uncertainty knotted in her stomach as she looked to her father, praying this time he would rise to the occasion. Could this connection finally anchor her father in something real? Or would the external pressures that hold him back drive a wedge between their moment of potential and the chaos looming outside? The new voice echoed with authority, stirring doubt as the second parent crossed her arms, surveying the vibrant scene within the community center. Charlotte's heart raced again, every emotion spiraling into a mix of hope and fear. Would this pressure be enough to shatter the beautiful connection forming in front of her? Who allowed this chaos in here? The new arrival shouted, her tone cold and demanding. The laughter faded, and a hush fell over the children, their joyful spirits now dampened. Charlotte felt her chest tighten. She turned to her father, pleading with her eyes. This was the moment where all the groundwork they had laid down was either going to break or bloom. Just stop. Charlotte found her voice, and it was louder than she expected. She took a step forward, her heart pounding as she confronted the parent who loomed like a thundercloud. These kids are creating art. They are expressing themselves. It matters more than you know. Her declaration hung in the air, charged with emotion. Several heads turned, children, parents, and Sam, all watching to see what would happen next. The first parent, now taken aback by her courage, retracted slightly, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. But they're making a mess. Charlotte held her ground. Sometimes you need to make a mess to uncover something beautiful. Look at them. Look at how alive they are. She gestured toward the kids, transformed by creativity, lost in their vibrant world as colors splashed across the canvases. Her father stepped forward, unexpectedly aligning himself beside her. She's right. His voice was steadier now, breaking free from the authoritative shadow he'd often stretched around them. Art has a way of fostering connection. It teaches empathy. It allows them to share their stories. The second parent's frown deepened, yet Charlotte could see the gears turning in her mind. But can't it wait until they're older? Shouldn't they be focusing on more practical pursuits? Now it was her mother who responded, moving to stand next to her husband and daughter. Life doesn't have to be about practicality all the time. Sometimes the most important lessons are learned through creativity, through community. The warmth in her mother's voice was a new layer of hope. The tension in the air thickened, swirling like the paint still splattered about. Charlotte took a deep breath, willing herself to harness the moment. These kids have dreams. They deserve to be heard. And they're learning that those dreams matter here and now. The janitor stepped in with a gentle smile. This community provides a place for them to uncover who they are. And who knows? The very ideas they spark here might be what changes everything in their futures. Charlotte felt her pulse quicken, the words weaving a thread of unity between all of them. They had presented a united front, a tapestry of belief and creativity that transcended generations. It was no longer just about her. It was about every child's future before her. The second parent looked around at the artwork, some of the kids catching her eye with tentative smiles, while the first parent remained silent, visibly grappling with the unexpected momentum of the gathering. Little by little, the walls were coming down. After what felt like an eternity, the first parent finally shrugged. Maybe there's something to what you're all saying, she stammered, her voice softer. The honesty in her concession surprised everyone. Charlotte felt hope spark anew. Would you just give it a chance? She urged, feeling the weight of her words. Suddenly, something softened in her father's expression as he glanced at the swirling colors, the vivid smiles, and the laughter of children, igniting a warmth he hadn't consciously accepted until now. I think we can start to help, maybe, he confessed, and there was weight in every word. I could certainly see how this can make a difference. See? Charlotte exhaled, feeling buoyed. The room filled with whispered murmurs from all sides, almost like thunder after the rain. Anticipation buzzing like electricity. The second parent shifted uncomfortably for a moment, as if realizing the gravity of their words. Okay. Then maybe we can find a way to contribute. Everyone in this community has something valuable to share. Charlotte interjected, adrenaline coursing her veins. It's about creating a bridge, not just to experience art, but to share stories that connect us. Wouldn't that be amazing? The room around her seemed to breathe as her words resonated within everyone present. In that moment, every set of eyes, including her father's, lit up with realization. The children returned to their mess of colors, and Charlotte felt the barriers of doubt relax. What had been a standoff between expectations and dreams began to transform into a moment of acceptance, filled with possibility. The first parent turned and spoke to her child. Why don't we see if we can help out next time, huh? And just like that, the shift in energy rippled, each participant taking one small step toward hope and understanding. They weren't just there to witness but to contribute. Standing there, Charlotte felt overwhelmed with emotion. She had pushed through barriers, confronted fears, and finally offered her heart a beating, vibrant heart rediscovering its pulse in community, sharing, and connection. As they gathered together to paint, laughter erupted around them. The mess now felt like joy. With every brush stroke on that chaotic mural, Charlotte understood that this was only the beginning, a beautiful, messy beginning that could change everything they had known before. It was a lesson in courage, and she had paved the way. Her worlds had finally begun to intertwine. Charlotte looked around at the faces of children, parents, and Sam, all stepping closer together, and her heart raced. This was where she belonged, and in the warmth of newfound community bonds, Charlotte understood one important truth. She would not just leave behind a legacy of privilege, but instead, a legacy of connection and love that transcended all boundaries. Charlotte smiled, feeling alive with hope. Tomorrow would be brighter. But today, everything had changed. Now it was time for all of you to make waves of change by being part of this incredible journey. So don't wait another second. You need to subscribe now to our channel to be part of these amazing stories as they unfold. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. And share your feelings in the comments. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Our community is growing, and we want you to be part of it.